President Trump announcing that Boeing will build the Air Force's future fighter jet. It's being named the F-47. The Pentagon says the new jet will have superior stealth and penetration capabilities that are essential in a potential conflict with China.
Could we have even more destruction because we don't have humans involved? I don't know. What do you see the future of warfare kind of turning into within this new world?
Connell, it's interesting you brought that up. The more technology, I'm sad to say, actually could potentially result in more warfare. I thought the 5th gens were pretty cool. Now we got 6th gen, man. This is mind blowing.
Next generation fighter jets.
The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built.
The F-47 will replace the Air Force's F-22 Raptor and is designed to fight alongside drones.
An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation.
This comes as the President and Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth denied reports that Elon Musk would be briefed on plans for a potential war with China.
The Air Force says it will be the most advanced, lethal, and adaptable fighter ever developed, designed to outpace, outmaneuver, and outmatch any adversary.
This F-47, just incredible stealth technology, weapon systems, and communication systems. So the fighter pilot is getting less and less out of the cockpit, and you're turning into more of a system monitor. But the technology is eye-watering. Based on the limited amount of information I know, this really is the next generation fighter. And the pilots are actually becoming less and less involved in the process. Some of the technology, you just sit there and watch these airplanes go to work. And to really creep people out, these airplanes are learning. They learn when a pilot looks at this or touches this switch, and they use that for future use. So the F-47 announcement today with the president and Boeing, probably going to be the end of manned aviation as we know it in the near future.
It's a technology that's new, but it doesn't fly by itself. It flies with many drones, as many as we want, and that's something that no other plane can do.
Announced today by the 47th president. It will replace Lockheed Martin's F-22 Raptor jet, which entered service nearly 20 years ago. The Air Force says it will cost less, be more technologically advanced.
As with a lot of these sorts of defense technologies, not giving too many details about specifically, what these planes might look like, though we do understand that they will include improvements to stealth technologies, speed, efficiency, those sorts of things. The president also telling us that versions of this plane have been secretly flying already within the U.S. for the past 5 years or so. So certainly a major development for Boeing.
Well, first, what I'd share with you is the president's decision to move forward with the F-47, or also known as the Next Generation Air Dominance Fighter, is likely to be the most important defense decision that he makes during his entire term. And I'll tell you why. Our entire way of waging war is involved with integrating the operations of all our service components. And that depends on control of the air, or what the military calls air superiority. And without that, we place our soldiers, sailors, airmen, Marines, and Guardians and their missions at risk. So no major military campaign can succeed without air superiority. Relative to your question on how the F-47 stacks up to the Chinese aircraft that have been unveiled recently, it's difficult to tell until they run up against one another. But I'm here to tell you, based on the designs, the technology, and the experience that the United States has, I can be pretty certain by telling you that the F-47 is the winner over what the Chinese have.
So this thing is $300 million a piece. It looks like we're probably going to get it in the next handful of years or so. Technology always advances, right? What's so good about this?
The promise of this F-47 is that it will be a generational leap of capability, even ahead of that amazing F-22 Raptor.
How? Tell me how.
And that includes more lethality, more speed, more range, additional weapons, and we're looking forward to seeing this with a fleet of aircraft the president promised to be delivered before the end of his term.
Do we have a sense, though, of what it could do versus what we can't do now?
I think it's really a leap of all of the good attributes of something like an F-22 in a more demanding and challenging area. You look at the Western Pacific and the area around Taiwan as an example, an extremely dense set of threats that now we need a leap of technology to be able to overcome. And the promise is that the F-47 will give us that in the next 3 or 4 years.
So is this just a direct response to China? I guess one way to look at it is, we need to keep up our technology. The other way you could look at it is we need to keep up with China. What is it?
Blake, this is something that's been on the drawing board for about a decade. And in fact, the president revealed today that we've been flying a prototype of this aircraft for the last 5 years. That means that we are trying to stay well ahead of any potential threat, whether it's China or someone else. And we are looking at our requirements in order to have the lethality anywhere on the globe and air dominance that we need. And this is not following China. This is setting a pace that China can't keep up with.
As I look at it, it's kind of a wild image to look at. Is that actually what it's going to look like?
Like, I don't know if we know. Obviously, we see that nose sticking
we'll see
out
what
of the
happens,
hangar.
right?
We're not sure. And the thing that the president promised about this aircraft is that it would be the F-47, which would be a manned part of this platform, but it would then be incorporated into a family of systems of CCAs, or collaborative combat aircraft, which are autonomous drones that would be its wingmen, that would add to the lethality of the single man platform that you may or may not see peeking out of a hangar there in those pictures.
So you bring up how it's manned, meaning that there's going to be a pilot or pilots in it.
This plane is produced numbers that nobody's ever seen before. The F-47 will be the most advanced, most capable, most lethal aircraft ever built. An experimental version of the plane has secretly been flying for almost 5 years, and we're confident that it massively overpowers the capabilities of any other nation. There's no other nation. We know every other plane. I've seen every one of them, and it's not even close. This is a next level. Level 5 is good. This is level 6, they say.
Because to your point, well, hey, Wiz didn't get shot down and eject, and he's not on News Nation getting beat up as a POW. That's a good thing. But that actually makes war more likely if it's just like, we just lost another unmanned vehicle, and let's build another one.
Sometimes I feel like it's like that now for the public. People who are non-military, they hear, like if we heard, so tomorrow we were sending troops somewhere, boy, there would be a huge reaction. But if we hear the president has an airstrike on such and such a country, sure, people pay attention, but not in the same way, because they don't feel like even though humans are at risk, I don't think they feel it the same way.
You absolutely nailed it. But at the end of the day, even if it's drone v drone, like, okay, our drones are fighting each other, somebody's going to wake up someday and say, where are the drones coming from?
Right.
Who's piloting them? At the end of the day, sadly, Connell, with warfare, it goes back to caveman. You got to pick up a rock and go hit another caveman in the head. So technology might make war more likely and more antiseptic, but at the end of the day, war is a horror, and this technology kind of delays the end state, and ending this war. It kind of prolongs it, in my opinion.
At the same time, though, for someone who's done what you've done, you're kind of amazed, as you said, by the technology, at how far we've come.